Israel breaking news today. In Israel, Cameron vows Israelis will retaliate against Iran. Reuters, in Jerusalem and Cairo, in the most stern warning of an impending barrage of missiles and drone assaults in the region, Israel has made up its mind to respond to Iran's aggression, British Foreign Minister David Cameron said during his visit to Israel on Wednesday. After Iran launched its first direct strike on Israel on Saturday night, using hundreds of missiles and drones, the first time after decades of fighting by proxies, world powers are attempting to avert a broader escalation of hostilities in the Middle East, following what was believed to be an Israeli bombing on its Damascus embassy compound on April 1, which resulted in the deaths of 2 generals and multiple other Iranian personnel. Iran initiated the strikes. Diplomats are trying to find a solution to prevent a direct confrontation between Iran and Israel, as the war between the two countries continues after 6 months and has caused deadly flare-ups across the Middle East, with Iran supporting the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Israel and its allies successfully intercepted most of Iran's Saturday missiles and drones, preventing casualties and limiting damage to minor levels. However, Israel maintains that it must respond in order to maintain the legitimacy of its deterrence. Although Iran now views the issue as resolved, it threatens to respond if Israel takes further action. The Israelis are clearly deciding to take action, Cameron informed reporters at the outset of his visit to Jerusalem. We are crossing our fingers that their actions will not make the situation worse. The U.S. and other Western nations are hoping that Israel will refrain from retaliating to an excessive degree in response to fresh economic restrictions imposed on Iran. During their conference in Italy this week, the group of 7 major democracies, including Britain, wanted to see coordinated sanctions against Iran. According to Cameron, the G7 must send them a strong and unambiguous message, he added. At a meeting of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's war cabinet, which includes centrist opponents brought into the government as a unity gesture after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, Israel is likely to consider its reaction to Iran. In a statement made public on Tuesday, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan stated that the United States intends to impose additional sanctions on Iran's missile and drone program in the near future and anticipates that its partners will do the same. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen had previously stated that the U.S. would continue to disrupt Iran's malign and destabilizing activity through the use of sanctions and cooperation with partners. Josep Borrell, the head of EU foreign policy, made the statement in Brussels during an emergency video conference of EU foreign ministers. He mentioned that several member states had requested the expansion of sanctions against Iran. Borrell said the plan would broaden the scope of sanctions to cover missile shipments as well as those to Iranian proxies in the Middle East, in addition to drones, which the current regime aims to limit from reaching Russia. Pull the trigger. The war must end. Israeli estimates placed the death toll from the assault on southern Israel at 1,200 and the number of captives taken at 253. Since the conflict in Gaza broke out, there have been clashes between Israel and forces associated with Iran in Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Iraq. Medics from Gaza have reported the deaths of approximately 34,000 Palestinians, with thousands more missing amid the rubble, as a result of Israel's major air and military offensive within the territory. Diplomats have been unable to reach an agreement for either a longer truce or an end to the war thus far, with the exception of a brief truce in November that resulted in the release of around half of the hostages. The scratches on any car are unknown until you try this trick. Every car has scratches, but few are aware of this nanosparkle trick for removing them.